Hey folks, welcome to March's Patreon Q&A session here on the Golden Bolt 2 Goldener. Why do I call that channel that? I don't know, but I like it, and it's going to be that until I think of a funnier name. For those that don't know, my patrons, my generous patrons, get to ask me a bunch of questions for a Q&A video like this every month. If you would like to ask questions like this, patreon.com/thegoldenbolt. If you would not want to do that, but you still want to ask questions, I still try and chat below. Obviously, I'm not going to make you pay me to ask questions. This is just one of those fun little bonuses that I like to use to generate some discussion rather than just putting out just videos, you know? Before I start, I will say I want to talk about a little bit about some of the stuff I've been playing lately. It's always a fun thing to do, and I haven't done it enough, and you guys seem to like this short chat podcast kind of format, so I figured, you know, why not? So at the time of recording, I already finished the Lost Judgment Kaito Files DLC. For those that have played Lost Judgment, I think that when this DLC / the whole season pass drops in price again, probably worth it. I don't think it's worth I think that the season pass is $35. I don't think it's worth $35. I got the season pass for, I think, $25 at one point it went on sale. And I think $25 for the Kaito DLC is pretty fair. It's on the shorter side compared to a regular, you know, Yakuza / Judgment game, but really not much so. I did everything in about 8 hours. I think the story alone would probably take you no fewer than 6.5 to 7. So I think it was good. You know, I think it's very clearly DLC, but I enjoyed it anyway. So, yeah. I also recently beat Chicory, A Colorful Tale. A little indie Zelda. You've probably seen it in some of the Nintendo Directs or maybe the PlayStation ones. I forget what they're called now. I don't care. They're bad. It's a little top-down indie Zelda kind of game based on like having a paintbrush and the whole world's black and white and you color it in or draw on it however you'd like. And I really enjoyed Chicory more than I expected to. I bought it when it first came out, knowing I wouldn't have time for it then. But yeah, I put time into it, and I really heavily recommend it to anybody that is looking at, like, you know, either quirky indie games with really good writing. I think this does the fine line very well between having quirky writing and being a little bit on the cringier side. So, and that aside, the puzzles are just actually magnificent. I think it's some of the better Zelda puzzle design that we've seen in a long time, because it does the thing where it's not necessarily difficult, but it makes you feel smart without being difficult. And that's what a puzzle should be in a Zelda game. It's meant to be the kind of thing that I mean, I already said it, you know, it's not meant to have you be smart, it's meant to make you feel smart. And so, yeah, I enjoyed it. I think that's the gist. I mean, I played Elden Ring. I played a lot of Elden Ring. Good game. I like that game a lot. Tentatively would probably be my game of the year. Currently, I would say, but that'll probably change as the year moves on. I don't know. So, I think that's all I've played. Yeah. So that's all I've played lately. Let me know what you guys have played recently, because I've been trying to get back into the habit of playing games for me, not just for content. And it's this one thing that you'll hear every like gaming content creator say this. Once games kind of become work, you always look at them not as work necessarily, but when I'm playing a game like the Kaito DLC, I have no intention of covering it, and you're probably watching footage of it right now. I recorded that because I was sitting at my desk and I was like, well, let me hit record. And it's a different mental state you put yourself into, and you never quite get out of it with most things. So I've been trying to avoid that where I could. And yeah, so I hopefully I'll talk more about games that I've been playing in the coming, you know, like April's Q&A and May's and onward. So that's cool. Before I get into the Q&A, I'll also say that the next video will hopefully be out in the next week and change, probably not the next week directly, but it's going to be a real good one. I'm really excited with how it's turning out so far, and I am excited for people to be mad at me. It's not the Ratchet PS4 video. It's actually a video on, I'll say it here because the main channel people don't watch this anyway. If you do, you're really cool. It's a video on not as much Sonic Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog, but more of a pure development video discussing the background behind those games and looking into why they are the way they are, because sort of like Sonic Adventure 2, everything starts to make sense when you consider the context of their production. And I find that stuff more fascinating than talking about the games themselves in this case, because I don't really have much nice to say about either game, so I'm not gonna. It's just gonna be a development video for the most part, with a couple pokes here and there, at certain things, and explaining what the game is to those that maybe don't know. So look forward to that. That'll be out in the first half of April for sure, because I have to get the second April video out. That's going to be Ratchet by the end of April, because I have a sponsor deadline. So yeah, Ratchet PS4, end of the month for April. That'll be cool. I'm looking forward to that one because I haven't played that game since 2016. I played it like 3 times when it first came out, and then I just haven't had the time to go back to it. And once I started doing these Ratchet videos, I didn't have the interest in going back to it, not due to any fault of the game itself, but because I don't want to think about these games much anymore. I'm glad we're almost done, because man, it's starting to get there. It's starting to get to the point of, oh, this was a whole, 18 months of my life working on these videos, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to have done that. But they cover the things you love. If you're ever doing videos or streams or anything, do cover the things that you love, but be ready, because man, it's gonna make you not want to think about them for a while. And I'm excited to take a long Ratchet and Clank break until they announce a fucking remastered trilogy or a new game later this year, probably. I don't know. Anyway, so let's go to the questions. It's been 6 minutes. I didn't mean to talk for that long, but we're doing this in one take, so let's go. AE Double asks, we were talking about this recently in that whole... we were talking about this recently in that the whole everyone lives in a bubble concept on the internet feels very apparent whenever, for example, people say that certain games should get more sequels, or it's a brain-dead good idea. The example that he lists is... like new Pokemon Snap, for example. That game is one that everyone's wanted for years, and then it only sold a couple million copies, whereas regular Pokemon sells like gangbusters. And he wanted to hear about some of my thoughts on this phenomenon, I'll call it, for lack of a better word. And it's just one of those things where I don't know that I have a really good thought on this, actually. You kind of already summarized it for me, AE Double. I think you kind of have it pretty close there, where it's like, a game like new Pokemon Snap, I think in Pokemon's case, I don't find there to be an excuse. I think I've been popping my mic. I should probably move my mic back. I apologize. I'll check later. We'll see. I think that with like a Pokemon franchise, where it's the #1 media franchise of all time, there's not much of an excuse to not do it, because most games would kill for 2 million sales, even if that's nothing compared to any other Pokemon game on Switch. So I think it depends. I'm sure that there has, if we want to go to like Sonic, oh, why haven't they ported Sonic Generations? It'd be so easy and people would buy it. Yeah, they would, but I mean, how many would? Did Sonic Colors Ultimate sell that well? I don't think so. Probably sold decently, but I don't know. It's one of those things where people need to just think about the context surrounding what they're talking about, and no one ever does. So they talk on Twitter about how they should just do this, and it's never that simple, obviously, as you guys all well know. The next question, well, AE Double also asked, what do you wish I asked you instead? No, that was a good question. I just wish I had a better, more eloquent answer to it, other than context doesn't exist on the internet. Nuance doesn't exist on the internet. I get accused probably weekly. I don't even check comments much anymore, except for after the first couple days when a video's out, where people will say that I'm shitting all over a game that I'm very much praising, but also saying it also has a couple issues, and that's shitting all over it to some. There's a thing that I've heard on the internet where it's like, no matter what you do, it's like a law of the internet that somebody will take it and completely spin it into a different accusation against you. The common thing you hear is like, I think this is actually something that Critical said. So I might be spouting what he said, actually. But I think he quoted it from somebody else where it's like, oh, if you tweet "I like waffles," someone else will say, oh, so you hate pancakes, you pancake bigot, or whatever. And it's very true. You can't have nuance on the internet, so it's something that you have to be prepared for if you do have nuance, because you can't have a good conversation in 240 characters, and people really want to try. So Nathaniel Foga asks, do you think another attempt at a theatrical Ratchet & Clank film would turn out well if it had better circumstances? Probably, but I don't know. Like, I don't know. Ratchet is it's a popular franchise. Like, obviously, it sells a couple million copies every time one comes out. The worst selling Ratchet is still like in the million range ish. I mean, probably not. Nexus might be over 1 million by now, but like that or Full Frontal Assault maybe haven't hit 1 million because they were very late PS3 games that weren't full scale games, so people didn't really look at them the same way. But I don't know. It's one of those where I think that Ratchet and Clank would be better suited to a television format, which is probably something they also attempted based on that Life of Pi proof of concept or short or whatever it was. But I think they realized that the response to the movie and the PS4 game became so toxic that anything that wasn't a complete rehab of Ratchet and Clank's image would be seen as moving more into the kiddie approach, and people really don't like that. They don't like this game for children not appealing to the 20-year-long fans only. Like, I do not, again, it's nuance. It comes down to nuance. You know, I play these games and when I analyze them, I do it from the perspective of a longtime fan. But when I actually play these games, like, here's the spoiler, I don't think about them much. I just shoot things and I have fun. That's what the point of the games are. I don't think too deeply about them, or, you know, if my analysis brain is turned on, I'm like, oh, that's a cool design decision, or oh, there's that and this and that. I don't think about it from like, this series is 20 and I've been playing it for all 20 years and they should appeal to me, because that's what a lot of people do, or at least they think that way. And no, like, you can't do that. A Ratchet and Clank movie has to appeal to a younger audience by necessity, because you're not going to get a bunch of 30-year-old dudes that have been playing these games since they were kids going to a movie theater and sitting there watching this kiddie furry film. Not furry as in the type of interest, but you know what I mean. So I don't know. I think it'd be better fit for a show, but I think based on the Sly show being supposedly, allegedly done as far as the first season or two already had gone, and Sony trying to pitch it to companies to put it on their streaming service or whatever, and no one's interested. If that's true, in the middle of the streaming wars where everyone's buying every piece of content up for a lot of money, I mean, it's not going to happen. You know, I don't think it would go super well. I think it would last like 2 seasons and get canceled, and that's fine because not everything needs to be a show. Malcavio then asks, if I had access to any intellectual property that I wanted with an unlimited budget to make it as you saw fit, what long-dead game series would you bring back to life and why? Legend of Dragoon. Why? Legend of Dragoon. That's it. I think it deserves it. I think that if you did, if I had unlimited budget, Final Fantasy VII Remake styled gameplay in the Dragoon universe, turn each disc into a whole ass game, or like, ideally unlimited budget, you just make it one fucking big ass game, but I don't know, 40-hour action RPG hack and slashy kind of thing is the exact thing Dragoon should have been, but couldn't have been given the limitations at the time, and oh man, it would be good. I don't care, like, you know, I want it. That's it. That's all. Send tweet. Thomas asks me in the Discord, by the way, if you want access to the Discord, that's also a Patreon perk, mainly because a lot of fans are weird. So, the $1 a month you get in, usually if you get in and you're cool, you can stay in. You know, it's just kind of a gate to keep the weirdos out, because man, there are some weird fans out there. Thankfully, the Discord's very cool. Everyone on Discord is cool. I haven't had an issue with that in a long time. Anyway, Thomas asks, what's the first game that I truly hated? There are 2 games that I distinctly remember made me feel empty and depressed as a child. And those were Glover on the N64 and Superman 64. I played those games and I actively felt nothing. And that was the first time that I felt empty inside, a feeling that I am now very much used to. So I think it's Glover's fault that happened in the first place. So, hashtag Glover gave me depression. I don't know. Good friend of the channel, JTart9 says, let me win in Mario Party. No, but you can try. tomorrow, Wednesday, March 30th, 2022 at 7 p.m. maybe at twitch.tv/thegoldenbolt, where we're going to do just that maybe. I'm not sure. We didn't lock in the time or schedule, so it might not happen, but you should follow me on Twitch and see if it happens, because it's really good, and the last time we did it, you can find the archive on this channel, was one of the most chaotic Mario Party games I have ever played in my life. So, yeah, Justin's not allowed to win. Chris Mykonos fan, obviously friend of the channel, editor for the main channel's videos, asks, what's something you miss from gaming that isn't around anymore or doesn't surface often in the games you have the time to play? I like the second part. Chris knows, obviously. You don't have time to play games anymore once you play games for work. Something that I miss that isn't around anymore, I think secrets. Like, that's such a simple answer, I know, but I really think that secrets, I don't know, they're not really as common anymore, or the developers just fucking tweet them out, or they're like, oh, look at this cool thing we did. Like, I don't know, man. I like it. I like not knowing about things, and I like people finding things years after the fact that aren't just speedrun strategies. Shit like that. I love it. There's probably other stuff. I mean, you could say cheat codes in the same vein. I don't really care about cheat codes that much, but like all like the secrets menu in so many games anymore, like once you beat everything, or once you complete them, you know, like the completion bonuses, it's like, oh, here's some screen filters, and I'm like, go fuck yourself. No, don't even put them in at that point. Like, honestly, it's not worth it. I don't want to see that. I don't care. No one plays with them on. It's stupid. Other good friend of the channel, Nico, also known as All Hail Buckets. He did the Golden Bolt theme. You can find that on the channel, or Spotify, or Apple Music, or I think SoundCloud. Maybe he didn't put it on SoundCloud yet. I meant to ask him, and now that I'm realizing I didn't ask him, maybe it'll be on SoundCloud soon. I don't know. Asks, when does a video game go from damp to wet, and how can you dry it off? To which I immediately responded in the Discord, what in the fuck does that mean? Moving along, Goldstorm07 asks, a notion that I have trouble with myself, what are some metrics you use for good level/world design in video games, or is it more of a vague, if it slaps to you? Choice wording there. This was sent in March 16th, but given the week that we've had, slapping is very important to the zeitgeist right now. You know, it depends on the video game. Obviously, it depends on the genre of the game. I think that good level design is something that you don't notice. Like, by its very definition, good level design should not be noticed. You know, I mean, in platformers, it's a little different because you're like, oh, this is really fun. But, like, level design in, like, a game like... I'll give you world design, actually. Ghost of Tsushima, a game that I'm hoping I'll still talk about later this year because I really want to just sing praises such as this. The macro game design of that game, of the world, is the same core concept as the combat design in that same game. In Ghost of Tsushima, you are meant to be a samurai movie hero. So you are meant to pinball between different enemies and just do an attack this way and do the kind of like the Batman Arkham that everyone points out. But you're supposed to bounce between enemies and slash them and cut them all to pieces or whatever. And the macro design of the world, in the same vein, has you pinballing from point A to point B to point C on the way to your objective because the birds distract you, or the smoke that you see is, oh, there's a Mongol encampment over there. It teaches you what the different pieces of the environment mean and teaches you to value those things as parts of the world. It makes you look at the world in a different way than most other games because those sorts of contextual things aren't done anymore in the Ubisoft era of open world games where everything's busy as shit. Like, I loved Horizon Forbidden West. I really did love that game, but that game is so fucking busy visually sometimes that, you know, you have to follow the compass to see what the game wants you to do for an objective on a side mission or whatever. And I think that game would have benefited, you know, obviously Ghost of Tsushima was already being released in the middle to late stage of the production of Horizon, so you can't say, oh, well, they should have just changed it. But, like, I want to see a Horizon 3 use those contextual environmental cues and, like, focus more on putting you in the world and making you feel like you are in that world. And the way you do that is that you don't give so many stupid handholdy things that clearly you don't need. You know, the fact that a game like Elden Ring has sold like fucking 20 million copies already, you know, some of it's hype, but it's very clear that you do not need to hold hands in the way that the common conception is, that common misconception, rather, I should say, that developers, or rather, I guess, project managers seem to think that is necessary. That wasn't a really well-worded sentence, but I think you understand what I mean. Make a game where I don't notice the design, and I will like that game more. But there are times where if it's like, oh, this level really fucking slapped, I'll notice it. And that's the good kind of noticing. But I don't know, those come later in the game usually because you've already been tuned into the mechanics and you've already been taught all that stuff. So now you're using your own intuition. And I love when shit does that. Jamie from Stuff We Play asks, when is my dad coming back from the store? Well, you know what? Will asks, thoughts on the phenomenon where some of the most loved games had short/rushed/rocky development cycles. Majora's Mask, Smash Bros. Melee, Fallout New Vegas, and a ton of the Ratchet & Clank games by the sound of it, he notes, come through that sort of ideology. And I think that I hate that this is the case, but limitations breed creativity. And if those limitations are budgetary or time-based, it's in the same way as budgetary. Because really, you only have a budget, you only have a timeline because you have the budget for that timeline, in most cases at least. So I think that when you are forced to do things creatively because you don't have time to do anything but cut corners, it leads to a lot of interesting corner cuts instead of the usual end-of-project corner cuts that you see in many games. I think if you have a decade to make a game, obviously it can turn out well, but you have a decade worth of shit that you didn't put in the game then. So I'm recording this on the 29th, like the day that this is coming out, I'm recording this, so you're probably going to see this in like an hour. And so, like, Breath of the Wild 2 just got delayed, and that means it's going to come out at the earliest 6 years after the first game. Spring 2023 from spring 2017. And Zelda games have had longer and longer production cycles as time has gone on, and I don't think that's not due to like making these games perfect. Like Breath of the Wild, it worked out, but Skyward Sword had 5 years of production. Twilight Princess had, I want to say, 4 years of production, and those were games that were out on standard definition consoles. Breath of the Wild was at least the first HD Zelda, besides the ports, obviously, but it's one of those where I understood that because the world design is so important in that game, and they nailed it. They nailed it to the point that a game like Ghost of Tsushima takes inspiration from it, or a game like Elden Ring takes inspiration from it, or so on and so forth, where, hey, jump into this world, figure it the fuck out. The level design is kind of becoming acceptable again. And not that Breath of the Wild was the first one to do that. Obviously, the Souls games did it prior to Breath of the Wild, because those took inspiration from the earlier Zelda games, where fuck around and find out was the name of the game. It was an antiquated level design concept that came back. And anyway, I think that not a crunch, that's not the right word, but a time crunch, having a short timeline breeds that creativity in a way that ends up seeming more memorable in a lot of cases, or at least a lot of the ones that you've listed here. Majora's Mask was an 18-month project, I believe, was the timeline, and that's it's absurd that they made the best Zelda game, I'll say it, in 18 months. But they did, after a 5-year production of Ocarina of Time. And Fallout New Vegas had so many cuts, it's not even funny. But it came out, and it was a return to form for RPG, like Western RPG lovers out there, and also had a shit ton of bugs. So there's that. But for every Fallout New Vegas, or every Majora's Mask, or Smash Melee, or Pokemon Gold and Crystal, or the Ratchet & Clank games, there are times where that doesn't happen. We don't think about the games where they were made on a short cycle and they were not beloved because of that. There are a ton of mid PS2 platformers or Xbox platformers that exist that ran into that, and I can't think of many of them, but if you look at like probably fucking what's the name of the one? Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. I'm sure those games were made in like a year each after the first one, and we don't talk about them. They're not beloved. there's got to be a AAA one that I can't think of off the top of my head, but even the Assassin's Creed games, they all had short development cycles, and until recently, that is, and they come out and people play them and then people forget about them. So, I think I answered that pretty fully. I think we'll see. And then the last question is kind of a weird inside baseball question from Even, but I like it. So he said, I recently acquired the first 4 Ratchet & Clank games for the PlayStation 2, but only had the original case for the first game. And then he shows a picture of the cases for the other 3 where he wrote on it with like white marker on the spine so you can see what the games are. But in my used game buying experience, what are the chances that any of these 3 games, having likely sat there for months or years on end, what are the chances that they don't work? And also he wants me to rate his custom boxes. I will give that a solid, like, game crazy 7 out of 10. It's one of those where it's like, oh yeah, they just fucking took the box they got it in and just slapped a sticker on it and sold it. I like that from a charm perspective. I like seeing nowadays games with old used game stickers on them. I know that's blasphemy, but like I'm talking like older games, because you get to see like those weird retro game stores that don't exist anymore, and you get to see like the history of that specific copy of the game by way of the story that's being told on the spine. It's like a tattoo for a game case, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, what are the odds of these games not working? That's a good question. If they've been sitting there, I don't think that's going to make them not work. I think that it's going to depend on the PS2s they were in and how scratched they were. Because, man, if you got a really good scratch on any PS2 game, good fucking luck. I had one of my Ratchet games, I don't remember which one. I had a copy at one point that it would just get stuck in an infinite load. It would just do the flying animation again and 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 again forever. It would just do it. And so that copy I don't think I have anymore. I hope. Maybe I do. I haven't played on my PS2 in a long time. But yeah, I'm going to say what are the chances that they all don't work or any of them don't work? One of them's not going to work. I think the other 2 will. But I think one you're going to have some shit luck with, or you're going to run into some bugs related to the scratches, like audio issues or cutouts or anything of the sort. But I don't know, these games were still pretty sturdy, so who knows. Yeah, so that's all of the Q&A. I think that's all the questions. If I missed one and you are one of the patrons that I missed, let me know so I can put you in the April one, and my apologies, but I think I double checked this time and I think I got everything. And again, if you are not a patron, you can answer. You can ask these same questions down below in the comments, and I will answer them most likely, unless it's just when are you going to review this, in which case I have to go to the Some Call Me Johnny special of eventually. I will eventually review these things. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not, actually. We'll see. But, ask about those. You'll see. I might not answer because it's going to be whenever I decide to. Kind of thing. And yeah, other questions, all fair game. I always love chatting with everybody and answering questions and having good conversations, so chime in below. If you're new to the second channel because I made a community post and you saw this or whatever, subscribe to this channel. I post these and other stream archives and other shit here. I'm going to hopefully start throwing together some meme ideas that I want to throw on this channel. I had a couple really good ones that I'd like to play with. Just to let this be a hobby as well as work sometimes, because like when you're doing it for work and like all these super big, long, serious videos, it'd be nice to just throw a meme one out there every now and then that won't hurt the other channel, So yeah, stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for the next videos that are coming in April. And don't share this video because this wouldn't do anything. Share my main videos if you want to. I would appreciate that. You don't have to. I'm not your dad. But if you share them, that helps. We're going to... you know what? I'll talk about this because we have another minute until I hit 30 minutes, and I want to stop at 30. We are going to hit 50,000 subscribers in April, barring a catastrophe. We're at 48 and change right now, and like it's going to happen in April. And so I want to say, thank you. That's absolutely wild. That's incredible. I'm excited to share that milestone with everybody as we hit it. And... also related to sharing, if you share, we'll hit it faster. Sharing really does help with these videos, so the next time a video drops on the main channel, consider sharing it on Twitter or Reddit or to your friends or wherever you go, wherever you post, because those things really do help. Stuff like that. So I got 10 seconds. I'm going to get out of here real quick. As always, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Let me know what you think in the comments. And until then, stay golden. I got 1 second left. Goodbye.